So we're painting Buff Mickey Mouse today. I have pretty much just woken up. My brain isn't fully engaged, so I need to try and focus. I think what I need to do, I've just set up everything, and you can sort of see I've got like a breakout of psoriasis at the moment. It's all over my head, and it's my arms. You can see it's all over here as well. It happens like every 6 months or so, whenever I'm feeling like particularly stressed, or if it's like super cold or something. Like the weather has quite a big impact on it, but I've had quite a big breakout. It's all over my back as well, so I'm a little bit itchy, but we'll crack on. Like I say, we're doing Buff Mickey Mouse today, so that should be fun. I've got the ears. Stick them on. I can't stick them on with one hand. Come on, there we go. I've got the ears that needs to go behind my ear. I've got the ears, and if we're feeling a bit fruity, then we can stick these ones on. So I've just been stood in this room for the past 10 minutes thinking, why the hell is it so cold in here? I've plugged my heater on. Turns out I've just plugged it in. I didn't turn it on, did I? Bruh. Absolute idiot. So I don't know about anyone else, but I find it really difficult to find like a face painting brush, which is like really big, like a thick face painting brush to cover like a large area. This is the biggest sort of paintbrush that I could find, but it's just not big enough and it takes forever to cover the whole body. So what I decided to do was I've gone for a few bigger brushes, but they're like paint brushes, not face paint brushes. So you know, the ones which you'd like cover a wall, you'd paint like your wall in your house. So I've gone for a couple of those. We'll see if they actually work. I mean, I'm sure they will, right? Okay, so we're all done with the first transition of the videos. And the next thing I'd always start with is I would just draw the outline of everything. I'm not actually going to do that with this paint because Mickey Mouse doesn't really have much detail on his body. He's kind of got his shorts, which I'm going to bring them up at sort of like waist height, I think, so you can actually see them in some of the video. But it's just a sort of a plain body, and then his sort of more detail is on the face. And I don't really know how I'm going to do the face, to be honest, because it's going to be a difficult one. I might just try and make him look a little bit more human, and maybe a bit meaner. I'm not sure. It's going to be a work in progress, I guess, so let's give it a go. But I think what we need to do first is we need to cover everything in black, and then we'll go in with the muscle definition after that. Okay, we're just getting to the light. First time using the bigger paintbrush, so let's see how we get on. I'm not convinced it's going to do a great job, but let's see if we've got enough paint there. Oh, you know what? That's absolutely fine. That's going to save me so much time. Just need to do like a couple of layers of that. Love it. What a great investment. You know what? Usually covering like my whole body in one colour takes like a good sort of 10-15 minutes. I've literally done this in about 3 minutes. I don't know why I didn't do this before, but I've just set you up in the middle of my ring light. It seems to make a lot more sense, seeing as I'm going to be doing a lot more talking to this camera than in the previous video. So what I'm doing now is I'm just taking a sponge and wetting it, putting it in the water-based paint, and then going over with a third layer. Essentially what this is doing is it's just getting rid of any like brush strokes, so it's like a smooth layer. And it might take a few goes over with a sponge to get like a solid colour. But essentially what we want to go for is so we can't see any sort of skin underneath. Okay, so now we've got a fairly good coverage. So we're covered from sort of half the way belly up in black, and then we've got the red belt, if you can see. And now what we want to do next is we want to mark out where the muscle definition is going to be. So what I'm going to do is So I'm going to take like a white paintbrush and just start to sort of sketch out where I want the muscles to be. And then I use this stuff here. So if you can see that, it's Mayron Clown White Light. Clown White Light, yes. So it is my absolute favourite product ever. It's what I swear by. It's how I do all of my highlighting on all of my paints. But I've got this one here as well. So this is the Mayron Clown White, and it's fine, it's just a little bit more sticky, whereas this one just applies a lot more smoother and you can sort of blend it out. So it has to be the Clown White Light if you want to do the sort of the blending, which I do. So this is what I get through so much of this, and there's loads in there, but I just get through so much of it. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to mark out the definition, and then we're going to start shading and blending out the sort of the white with the highlights. Okay, so as you can see, we've marked out where the definition of the muscles are going to go. So you've got the pecs, you've got the abs, biceps, and etc. And then all we need to do now is take a sponge and take your Clown White paint, dab it in. You don't want too much, because what you're doing is you want to just try and blend it out. So take a little bit and then just start to sort of dab it and brush it where you want that muscle definition to be. And the sort of the technique to go with is whatever's closest to the camera in real life needs to be brighter than what's far behind, if that makes sense. So if you think about a pec, you've got this bit here is going to be closer to the camera than underneath the pec, isn't it? So the underneath bit needs to be darker, and this bit needs to be a bit further forwards. Maybe I need to do a whole video dedicated to how I create muscles, but this one's actually going to be quite difficult because I'm only using two colours, white and black. Whereas if it was more like a skin toned colour, then you can go in with different shades of brown to get the sort of the darker contours, and then also use white and black. So you've just got more options. So, or for instance, if you want to contour muscles in red, you've got your base colour of red, and then you've got your darker shades of red, and you've got your black as your final sort of shadow, and then you can use your white to make it brighter. Whereas when you're using black and white, you've only got the two options, white and black, and the only way that you can make your highlights highlight is using white, and it's just going to have to be different gradients of white. So I've just got less options to work with, which is why it's going to be more difficult to get like that muscle definition. But we'll give it a go, and hopefully it'll be alright. But yeah, maybe I do need to do like a whole video on how I create muscles using paint, and I'll actually think about how to explain it properly, because at the moment I'm just winging it. Okay, so we've got a bit more of the definition, and I've just started to glue my eyebrows down, and I thought I'd come and show you how to do the other one. So, what you need for this is a glue stick, can be any glue stick. I use the Alma's purple stuff, but it can be Pritt stick, whatever. Any work, as long as it's like a normal glue stick. You need a spoolie, and just some powder and a sponge to like push the powder in. So what you do first, everyone's got their own way of doing it, but this is how I do it. You just want to cover your eyebrow with as much glue as possible, and don't worry, it looks purple now obviously, but it dries clear, and it will look like that. So you want to get as much glue in there as possible, and then whilst it's still wet, you just want to take the spoolie and sort of brush the hairs upwards. Depending on how much hair you have in your eyebrow, you might need to try harder to brush all the hair up. I've got quite a lot of hair, my eyebrows are quite bushy, so it's a bit of an effort to stick them all up. Okay, so once it's all sort of facing upwards, then you want to take the other end of the spoolie and like push into your eyebrow. So you're sort of flattening it down. You're also like pushing out any of the excess glue there as well. and then you'll see that that's pretty flat now. And now what you want to do is you want to get rid of some of that excess product at the top, or excess glue, sorry. And you just take a wet wipe and just wipe around. And for some people, if you've got thin eyebrows, that's enough, and then you can just push the powder into it. I always like to go in with like a second layer, so I try to wait for it to dry a little bit, and then I go in with a second layer of glue. So just do the same process, try and get, but the only difference here this time, you want to be pushing your eyebrows up so you don't sort of change the position of your eyebrows, because if you're pushing down or across, like, your eyebrows will still tend to move. So just try and get as much glue on there as possible in the one direction, and again with the other end of the spoolie, just try and squeeze and flatten some of that down. And then what you want to do, when it's slightly wet still, you want to take a sponge and some powder. So I just use talcum powder for this, and get some sort of loose-ish powder on there before you push it in. So cover more than the eyebrow with powder, and then get like a healthy amount of powder on your sponge and just like push it in. And when I'm saying push it in, like push it in really hard. And then once it's all pushed in, you'll see when you take a brush and like brush it away. Where's my brush? Here. You'll see that actually that is now a smooth eyebrow which you can paint on top of, and you won't be able to see the eyebrows underneath. So now we're just gonna sort of map out Mickey Mouse's face. So he's kind of got his black ears which sort of start from up here and come around to his cheeks and then go around like this. And we're going to attempt to do this in the camera, which is probably not going to go down very well. Okay, so I want to start here, and then what I want to do actually is, because I'm using black, I want to sort of go wider than I'd first anticipate, because it's much easier to colour that in to get the right shape if you haven't already painted it, if that makes sense. I've actually got a little bit of a mirror behind here, so I'm cheating. Okay, I got a little bit carried away and started putting foundation on before switching the camera on. So, as you can see, we've got our glue down eyebrow here, and then when we paint over it with a bit of foundation, you'll see that it vanishes and it just looks like it's skin. And that's what we're going for here, because Mickey Mouse doesn't actually have eyebrow. His eyebrows are kind of up here, so I might need to bring this down a bit further. But you know what, I probably should have painted on foundation before doing this, the black bit, because I'm not going to be able to get it right up into the edge using this brush anyway, without sort of, you say, over painting. So I'm going to have to go over that in black again, which isn't an issue, but it just probably would have been a little bit easier in terms of order of doing things if I'd done it the other way around first. Just sat down because my leg's getting tight. So as you can see now, what I've done is I've gone over the highlights a little bit more, I've outlined it a bit bolder, and I've kind of done it a bit more sort of like angular, rather than it just being a smooth line. And now what I'm going in with is I am going in with some charred ash powder, and this is literally just like loose powder, but it's the equivalent of, say, if you've got some black eyeshadow, that's what I started off with, but then this stuff lasts so much longer, and actually it's much better and easier to work with, I find. So now I'm just going along anywhere where I want there to be a shadow, and kind of blending that in into the highlight, so it's kind of a smooth transition. Smooth, I assume transition is the word. Yeah, okay. So yeah, I'm just going to sort of build it up with the shadowing here, and then I think we will be pretty much done with the body. I need to do more on the belt, all the shorts, and then I just need to work out what I'm going to do with the face. I think I need to add some highlights somewhere because it just doesn't match the body. Just haven't worked out where. And then I think we're going to try and keep the eyes sort of natural like this. Do a big black nose, and then maybe paint his mouth on so it comes down like here, and it's like a fake smile, but keep the eyes normal. Not sure, we'll see how we get on. Okay, so we got super distracted and I forgot to record some bits. So what I've done here is paint the nose, and I've painted on the mouth. So there's a bits which I need to clean up here. And I just need to make the eyes a little bit darker. We're going to keep them as is really. I'm not too bothered about the face. I think it actually looks okay. We're just going to sort of fix the top here, add some highlights up to here. We had to bring it down a little bit so we can add the eyebrows. But I think we look kind of Mickey Mouse-like. Stick the ears on, and we'll see how we feel at the end. Okay, so we're done. We're pretty much done. What's the time now? So we started about 9 o'clock. It's now 10:03. So it's actually a fairly quick one today. So it was that 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 7 hours. So I don't usually finish at this time. So it wasn't as long as I thought it would be. But I mean, we're okay with the results. I mean, it's not amazing, but what are you going to do? So now what I need to do, I've already done the videos, I've already edited them as well, so I'm just going to do the last video, which is removing everything, wiping it all off, and then tidying up, going to the shower, upload everything to everywhere, all the different social medias, and then that's pretty much the day done today. Like tomorrow we're going to be doing Ron Weasley, but we're going to be doing let's try again, words, use your mouth, Chris. We're going to be doing Ron Weasley when he is in his his Quidditch gear, so I thought that'd be a little bit different. It'd probably be a little bit easier to do the hair because he wears like a hat as well, so that'll be fun. And then I think on Friday we're going to be painting Luffy from One Piece again. We've already done it before, but I wanted to give him another go, so we will see how that goes. So yeah, let's give a quick tidy up, and I will see you soon.